Right, we gave you enough warning to grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, glass of water, whatever you like, as we take a look at the morning papers. We'll have three of them, the Star, the Witness, and also the Mercury. And it's always such a good morning when we have the Mercury Editor, Philani Mazibuko, joining us. Hello to you, Philani. We'll talk about the Mercury in a moment, if that's okay with you. Can we just talk about the black leadership crisis in the DA, though? It's the Star newspaper's headline story this morning. Good to have you with us.
Good morning. Good morning.
So
the issue of yes.
Yeah, you know, carry on. So this black leadership crisis in the DA, another resignation. I think the DA thought they might be done with resignations for the year, but not the case.
Yeah, no, that's not the case. Look, what has been happening in the party is that they have been losing quite a lot of black capable leaders, and the question that needs to be asked. Because we need to remember that perception is very important in politics. And at the moment, it would look like the DA is not necessarily a conducive environment for black leadership. We know what has happened to Musi Maimane, Lindiwe Mazibuko, Herman Mashaba. The list is very long. So now the question that needs to be asked is, you know, those who are still within the DA and they are black, you know, and they are in leadership structures within the party, are they still there because they believe in what the DA is trying to achieve, or they are there, you know, simply because, you know, it's a good career move, you know? But the way in which the party itself is losing black leaders is creating an impression that they are intolerant of black leadership.
Yeah, I mean, it's interestingly here, I'm reading here that Action SA leader Herman Mashaba was quoted by the Star saying that he was shocked that Baloyi was actually leaving the DA, and said that he had tried to call him to find out what happened. And he's quoted as saying that I'm awaiting for him to return my call because I wanted to understand why exactly he left. But before we go to the Witness, just briefly, Philani, I'm so concerned about this bottom story about death threats made to COVID-19 scientists. I mean, particular Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research, Innovation and Postgraduate Study at Stellenbosch University, Professor Eugene Klutter, said despite the criticism, not making information public would be irresponsible for them. So I don't know if scientists at this point in the country are caught between a rock and a hard place because of the death threats they are receiving from, you know, the revelations or investigations that they're making about, you know, COVID-19.
Yes, that's actually quite an interesting story, and it remains to be seen how this is going to develop, and we'll be waiting to see, you know, in terms of the direction that it takes. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Witness, but we want to leave enough time, of course, to talk about the Mercury as well. This is very worrying considering what we have seen off the back of Babita Deokaran's murder, whistleblowers being killed. The Witness newspaper talking about city prosecutors living in fear. Just to let viewers know what we're talking about, Pietermaritzburg Regional Court prosecutors say they're concerned about their safety following the murder of Lunwabo Boy just ahead of a case. And this is what it derails a justice system in the country if we don't get on top of it, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, you have a prosecutor that was killed in broad daylight in a brazen shooting in Umlazi last weekend, and it is nice to see prosecutors actually taking a stand and saying that, you know, allow us to do our job, you know, and actually, you know, making it clear that we need to do our jobs without fear. And, you know, we just hope that the police are going to, you know, ensure that those who are responsible are brought to book as soon as possible.
Yeah, and also the Witness there, I'm seeing at the bottom, KwaZulu-Natal being the new COVID-19 epicenter in South Africa.
Yes, yes. I mean, there are many reasons for this. And I think that the experts can speak more, you know, in depth on it. But what has happened is that you have a number of holiday makers that have made their way to our shores, particularly in Durban. It's an important and a popular holiday destination for locals. It's cheap, you know, and it's affordable, you know. So, and most of them come from Gauteng and many other parts of the country. So it will, you know, it's expected that this is going to be the case now, that KZN becomes the epicenter of the virus.
Yeah, and it's, the holiday season only just started. I'm very worried to see the numbers in about a week or two, especially after Christmas Day and closer to New Year's Day as well. All right, let's take the last minute or so we have with a look at your newspaper this morning. So what's the Mercury covering in the build-up to Christmas?
We will be doing a lot of reps, in terms of the events that dominated the headlines this year, but particularly in terms of our page one, where we are looking at this story about the royal household. There's two issues there that have dominated our story. The first one is the collapse in the negotiations. We know that former Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Mchunu, headed this team that was looking at, making sure that the two factions, are able to resolve their differences. He has acknowledged that those negotiations have collapsed. And that has been followed by another controversy within the royal household that has been sparked by the donation of the 6 cars by the Premier's office or the government of KwaZulu-Natal. And that has created a lot of controversy, with the IFP weighing in on the matter, saying that the KwaKhangela Mankengane Palace should have been, allocated a car as well. And that is happening even though the Queen has passed on. And I am quite certain that today you are likely to see another statement from the Premier's office defending itself against the IFP allegation. So it's a story that is definitely developing.
And I see at the bottom of the Mercury as well, half of South Africans unable to pay back their debt for the past 6 months as well. It's also a very important story because we're all going to be as responsible as possible, we think, in the build-up to Christmas and buying presents, aren't we? But Philani, always good to have you with us. If we don't speak to you again, from Tooms and I and the entire team, a good Merry Christmas to you, and I'm sure we'll speak to you in the coming days. Philani Mazibuko, the Mercury editor, joining us here on eNCA.